Welcome to the GoToWebinar Quick Start video. This video shows how to quickly schedule and start a webinar, then share your screen with GoToWebinar. After the installation process is complete, GoToWebinar shortcuts are easily accessible from the GoToWebinar icon on the desktop or in the system tray. Double-click the icon on your desktop and you can start a GoToWebinar session instantly by selecting Webinar Now or Schedule a Webinar for later. When logging in from the website, click on Schedule a Webinar, enter a title, description. You will also have the option to set up recurring webinars here, as well as a date and time for your webinar. Confirm your time zone, select your preferred language, and select Schedule. Now it's time to manage specific details for your webinar. First, navigate to your audio options and select Edit. The best practice for audio is to select all options available. This will give your attendees a choice between voice over IP, which is computer audio, or using their telephone when joining the audio portion of the webinar. If you would like to provide international telephone numbers, select that radio button as well. Click the Edit button next to long distance or toll-free to choose which country numbers you'd like to be made available. You can also provide your own conference call information by selecting here. If selected, you'll be prompted to enter your own conference call information and numbers. Here, you can customize the branding and theme for your webinar. You have the ability to upload custom logos or images that will be displayed to your audience members in the waiting room, in the emails they receive, as well as any registration pages. You can also add a welcome message here and list any presenters you will have at your webinar. The next step is to invite any other organizers and specify panelists for your webinar. A panelist is an individual that you will invite as a staff member that helps you with the success of your webinar. The most common role for a panelist is that of a keynote speaker or guest speaker during the webinar. To invite a panelist, enter their name as well as their email address. Additional organizers are invited if you need someone else to start the webinar for you. As a best practice, we recommend you check your registration settings prior to sharing your webinar information. In order to join your webinar, attendees must enter their name as well as their email address. If you would like to require additional fields from your attendees, simply choose the fields that best apply when editing registration settings here. Now you're ready to share the webinar information with your audience members. Select Email me the invitation to receive a GoToWebinar generated email based on the branding and theme you selected. You can then forward that information to any potential attendees. You also have the option to copy the webinar information and paste it into an email template that you create yourself. Click Edit next to Handouts to add up to 5 documents to make available during your webinar. As a best practice, we also recommend that you create several polling questions for your webinar prior to your webinar start time. A polling question allows you to engage with your audience members by asking a multiple choice question. Simply type your question and the answer choices here. If you would like to receive feedback from your GoToWebinar attendees, you can create a survey here. To create a survey, first enter a title for the survey, then select the question type. Once you've added several questions, choose when you would like your audience members to see the survey. A survey can be shown after a webinar, in a follow-up email, or both. The My Webinar page shows all of your scheduled webinars. Here, you can click on an individual webinar to view and manage the details of the webinar. You can view the number of registrants, and you can start the webinar. Once you do start your webinar, this is the control panel, which has all of the tools and features you will need to present and manage a webinar. When your webinar has launched, all of your staff members, including organizers and panelists, will be placed in a sub-conference. This allows for the staff members to discuss last-minute logistics before the webinar begins. When you're ready for your audience members to hear you, click Start Broadcast. The screen sharing options resemble a video player. Simply click the play button and your screen will be shown to the audience. You also have the option to pause or stop screen sharing. You can also change the presenter, which allows anyone in the meeting to show their screen, or let another attendee take control of your computer. The control panel also contains a host of information and controls for your webinar. The dashboard provides you an overview of your webinar. The audience view provides you with a thumbnail that allows you to see what the audience members are viewing in real time. The attendee list allows you to see all of the staff as well as the attendees that have joined the webinar. In addition, you can manage your audio through the attendee list. All attendees will be muted by default. If you would like to allow an attendee to speak, click on the microphone icon or click on the telephone icon in green next to their name. Click Polls to launch a poll that you've already created. Choose the poll that you'd like to launch from the drop-down list, then select Launch. This will open the poll for all of your attendees. Once your audience members have selected their answer, click Close to close the poll. To share the polling results, click on the Share button. When you're done with the poll, remember to hide the polling results. If you'd like to create a poll during the webinar, click Manage Polls and you will be able to. The Questions pane allows you to see all of the questions that are submitted by your attendees. To make questions easier to view, you can detach the Questions pane or any other pane by dragging it out of the control panel. This will allow you to expand the individual pane so that you can see the questions easier. To respond to a question, select the question you'd like to answer, then type the response. You have the option to send the answers privately to the individual that asked it, or you can send the answers to the entire audience. This will include the question that was asked with the answer. One of the most valuable parts of GoToWebinar is its HD video conferencing feature. Up to 6 attendees can interact via HD webcams during a webinar, and you can adjust your preferences from the webcam drop-down. The chat window allows you to send messages to the entire audience or to an individual or a staff member. Thank you for watching this brief video on GoToWebinar.